very important that we pay attention to this as well. Then stakeholder turnover, which resulted in loss of financial inclusion champions, focal points, and or memory or institutional memory. And on the financial gap, I did say that financial exclusion has consistently been highest for inadequate resource allocation, non-specific dedicated budget, and human resource during the implementation of Nfis 1. Now, coming to the actual highlights of Nfis 2, you can go to the next slide. The rationale basically aims to address the remaining challenges and the gaps that we've noticed from Nfis 1, and we plan to achieve 85% financial inclusion in the next 5 years for the adult population. So that is what our target is, from 69.5%. So basically, financial inclusion has a, let me say, specific definition and a broad definition depending on the country context. So basically, you want to have access to and usage of financial products and services. That's what you aim to achieve. But in the Zambian context, and looking at what we've learned in Nfis 1, what we want is to ensure that there's informed usage and there's a broad range of quality and affordable financial products and services which meet the needs of individuals and businesses in a fair, simple, dignified, and sustainable manner. And this should be supported by consumer protection policies and improving financial capability. So basically, in our context going forward, this is a definition that we are using in order to emphasize on some of those broad themes that are within that definition. In terms of the objectives of Nfis 2 is to achieve universal access to affordable and regular usage of a broad financial services, products and services, to enhance the quality of financial services and products, to enhance the financial wealth and capability of individuals and businesses, to strengthen consumer protection measures to ensure that all segments of population are treated fairly and transparently by financial service providers. And I think the sketch that we saw did show that it was entitled Scammer, basically, that there are scams in these things, and we need to also protect a lot of some of our users. And also, finally, to basically expand the financial ecosystem to support sustainable financial sector development. So in terms of the thematic areas, we have 8 thematic areas. We can go to the next slide. So if you look at the first 4, on the top left, we are looking at, the first 4 basically looks at those that are financially excluded. Small and micro and small enterprise, the MSME sector, people that are in rural areas, those that are underserved, as well as the agriculture sector. But for us to do this, we must make sure that we take into account things of ESG, environmental and social governance. We are in a global village where the globe, in terms of the UN Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC, we've targeted as a global community to reduce greenhouse emissions, to limit them to no more than 2%. And therefore, in whatever we do on a day-to-day basis, there is need for us to take care of all these issues as we try to develop our countries. Issues of digital financial services and financial infrastructure is very important. Again, we saw that things like insurance are quite low, and there are services that can be provided if you've got these digital platforms without need of human intervention or any physical branch, but certain services can be provided. And I think also our sketch did show that the lady sent money on the 2nd, and the landlord received his money, but he was just away. Also, there are issues of cross-cutting issues in terms of financial consumer protection and financial capability, which is also very important. But also going forward, we want to make sure that we monitor and evaluate the progress that we are making as a country, make sure we have the right data, and continue to conduct research to improve some of these financial services and products so that we ensure that a larger part of the population is included. We can go to the next slide. So I'll just take a turn on each. So one of the key ones I said is MSMEs, and I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Bank of Zambia did launch a survey on small and medium enterprises. And that survey did show that 98.8% of businesses are actually micro enterprises. And therefore, these are the ones who are mostly not included. Therefore, the strategy is emphasizing on micro, small, and medium enterprises. And the actions to be taken basically are to streamline the registration process, to develop an MSME financing strategy, to develop and promote credit enhancing mechanisms, develop and promote innovative and accessible instruments for financing MSMEs, and creating specialized institutional arrangements for capacity building and technical assistance. So basically, those are some of the actions that need to be taken within the next 5 years to ensure that MSMEs are included. The next one is actions to be taken for rural areas. So want to enhance partnerships between public and private institutions, increase the proximity of financial access points, and we've been working with the Bank of Zambia and some of the people within the banking sector to provide certain services using government infrastructure that is dotted around rural areas to create these access points. So this work is ongoing, and we want to see it happen much more within the NFIS too. Then also to enhance and develop integrated interventions and enhance consumer awareness of complaint resolution and redress mechanisms. Next is actions to be undertaken with those who are underserved, and these are to design, test, and adopt simplified and tailored products facilitated by innovative regulatory frameworks such as the sandbox regulation systems, and I know that a number of, I think PIS, SEC, and the Bank of Zambia already have these in place. Devise credit enhancing mechanisms, integrate financial inclusion data within e-government services and systems such as the farmer input support program, social cash transfer, community development fund, and so on. So all these, we need to ensure that these platforms ride on this. Also to develop and expand linkages between SACCOs, savings groups, and other formal financial institutions. On agriculture, agriculture is basically the mainstay of a larger part of the population in Zambia. I think over 60% of our population are involved in the agriculture sector, and therefore it's very important. It's a very important area for us within this financial inclusion strategy. So I want to promote the formalization of the sector, to enhance the usage of movable asset registry system, promote and enhance access to agribusiness financing, and I think a number of products are already in place, promote and enhance access to warehouse receipt system. Again, this is something that has also really started, and I think this past season we saw FRA use this to sell some of the stocks of soya that they actually have, and also develop an agriculture financing strategy and incentive delivery for financial services and financial capabilities programs. So this is what we look at. Then in terms of ESG, we need incentives that encourage MSMEs to participate in the green economy, making sure that the activities which they are doing really are more resilient and less destructive to the environment. Promote the development and usage of green customer-centric innovation products and services, and develop tailor-made capacity building and financial literacy programs on inclusive green finance, and develop and support implementation of disaster risk financing strategy and green growth strategy. So these are also very important. Then in terms of the digital financial services and financial infrastructure, the actions that we take within the next 5 years is to implement a centralized digital KYC platform, develop innovative mechanisms to make ownership of mobile telecommunications and other DFS devices affordable, review the pricing structure of interoperability transactions and enhance operational efficiency of national financial switch, the Nfis, conduct cybersecurity awareness programs, and also provide assistive devices to persons with disabilities. So these are some of the things that we'll be looking at doing. Then also in terms of financial consumer protection and capabilities, the actions that will be taken over the next 5 years is basically to scale up the awareness campaigns, increase the level of acceptance and usage of digital payment services by merchants, issue industry-specific quality of service charters, enhance stakeholder collaboration and awareness, dissemination of financial literacy materials in English and other local languages, and conduct a cybersecurity awareness program. So in terms of implementing the NFIS 2, this is basically I would call it an organogram or the structure that will be used in implementing. There will be a steering committee which will be chaired by the ST and co-chaired by the Deputy Governor of Operations at the Bank of Zambia. There will be a secretariat that will be housed at the Ministry of Finance, but the secretariat will have a number of other players from the different regulatory agencies. Then we'll have an implementation committee that is also co-chaired by the Director EMD as well as co-chaired by Bank of Zambia. And this work will be supported by 5 basically working groups. The first one, which will be coordinated by PIA, is the pensions and insurance. The other one by SEC is capital markets and ESG. Then we have digital finance services and financial infrastructure, which will be done by Bank of Zambia. Then CCPC will also look at consumer protection and the financial capability. Then also in terms of monitoring and evaluation and data and research, we will have the Zambia Statistical Agency coordinate that particular group. Finally, my final slide. So to conclude, basically the NFIS 2 then will enable an inclusive and robust financial ecosystem that provides accessible, affordable, and sustainable financial products and services to all population segments. It will also help increase resilience, financial health, and confidence building, thereby improving the standard of living for many of our people. And it will also provide a framework to coordinate various interventions by policymakers, regulators, private sector, civil society organizations, and cooperating partner institutions. With this, I would like to thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for that breakdown, sir. And that was Mr. Mulele, Director from the Minister of Finance and National Planning, giving us the highlights of the NFIS 2. And so we're about to officially start our program with our guest of honor. He will be joining us shortly. When he is coming in, when the announcement is made that he's making his way in, I'll ask you to stand to receive him. Then we will start with the Zambia National Anthem, a word of prayer, and then proceed with the program. So our guest of honor will be joining us shortly. And as we wait, we'll ask Ensemble Arts to come and provide some music, some entertainment. In the meantime, for those of you that may need to stretch your legs a little, as it were, this would be a good time to do so that when we do officially start with our guest of honor, we will proceed. Thank you very much, Ensemble Arts. And we'd like to welcome our guest of honor, the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musobotwane, MP. And we will now start our program. May I invite you all to stand for the national anthem, which will be followed by a word of prayer. I believe we can sing the anthem, can't we? There we go. And awake and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our right. We want freedom stars, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our thank you, God our Father. We thank you, God our Father, for today, for all that you have given to us, promised to us in the hours of this brand new day. And Lord, we pray that everything that will happen will be blessed by you, and that will allow you to lead, to guide, and protect us. And Father, as we go through this program, the launch of the Nfis, we pray for your presence and that it will indeed ensure that everything that will happen according to your plan and your will. We thank you for our guest of honor, the Minister of Finance. And we thank you even for the government that he works in, starting with the President himself and all other cabinet ministers and all other leaders at different levels of administration, and pray that you will continue to give them the wisdom and the strength and the courage to do that which is right for our country. And we pray for all the citizens represented by the guests in the hall, that we too will play our part to make this country a better place for all of us. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Please be seated. Our guest of honor, the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musobotwane, MP. The Bank of Zambia Governor, represented by the Director, Non-Bank Financial Institution Supervision, Frida Temba. The World Bank Country Manager, Akim Fok. Permanent Secretaries here present. Chief Executive Officers of the Financial Sector Regulators, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, the Country Director for Financial Sector Deepening Zambia, the Statistician General for the Zambia Statistics Agency, the Director General for the Zambia Information and Communications Technology Authority, Chief Executive Officer for the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, senior government officials, Your Excellencies, ambassadors and high commissioners, heads of mission present, members of the diplomatic corps, chief executives of financial institutions and other organizations, distinguished invited guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Good morning, everybody. Indeed, and welcome. Welcome to the launch of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2, which will run from 2024 this year to the year 2028, as well as the NFIS review report here at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. And we thank you all for coming through to be a part of this program here. And I know many of you have been involved in one way or other in the previous efforts, and of course in this one going forward, developing all the documents, developing all the policies and everything that will be required to make sure that this particular strategy works and works for who it's intended for. You heard in the highlights that were given earlier how certain sections of our population are somewhat disadvantaged in this sector. So this indeed is something that we all need for ourselves and for our relatives and everybody else in this country. So a big congratulations to the ministry and all the stakeholders that works together with them. I think we can put our hands together for all of them for the efforts. And indeed, coming up to this day when we are launching these particular strategies and documents. My name is Paddy Mogando, and I'm honored to be Master of Ceremonies for this event here. We would now like to begin to invite the regulators to come and give their comments on this issue. We will start with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Mr. Philip Katali Chitalu is the Chief Executive Officer, and would like to invite him to come forward now and give his remarks as the first regulator, SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Chitalu as he makes his way.
Good morning, everyone. The guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Situmbekom Sokotwani MP, Minister of Finance and National Planning. Permanent Secretary is present. I recognize, I think I met Mr. Tisenda. Senior government officials present. Ambassadors and High Commissioners accredited to Zambia. Members of the diplomatic corps, chairpersons and heads of corporates. I think I had an interaction with our chairperson, Ms. Mugara. I need to recognize her, just in case. Mr. Peter Banda, board chairperson of the Pensions and Insurance Authority. Should I just say distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I think Mr. Mulele already took quite a number of points out of my speech with his introductory presentation of what we are about to witness today as Minister comes to launch this particular National Financial Inclusion Strategy. On behalf of the Securities and Exchange Commission, I'm glad to join you in celebrating this milestone in our financial inclusion journey. Today's launch of the 2024 to 2028 National Financial Inclusion Strategy is a clear testament of our collective resolve to ensure that our financial inclusion numbers go up as a country. As a member of the drafting committee, that is the SEC, it's truly gratifying to witness this milestone. In taking a moment to reflect where we are coming from, I'm alive to the fact that our financial inclusion journey is largely founded on the financial sector development plan, which Mr. Mulele talked about, and the Nfis 1, which we co-implemented along the Bank of Zambia, the Pensions and Insurance Authority, and of course the Minister of Finance. Both the FSDP and the Nfis 1 helped us identify weaknesses and devise solutions to broaden, strengthen, as well as make financial sector more inclusive. As the apex regulator for the capital markets, the Commission has seen the implementation of various programs, which has formed as part of the FSDP and now the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. This has been the foundation for our financial inclusion agenda at the Commission, and most of these remain relevant. I will highlight some of these just to bring it into perspective. Enhancing awareness on capital markets and investing in the securities sector. I think the drama group did speak about that and the importance of using digital financial services. Financial inclusion cannot be sustained without empowered investors. And from our perspective, Awareness Minister is at the core of what we do. If we do not have an aware society, investor protection from our side becomes very, very difficult. So we need to start with our awareness. This cannot be achieved without an enhanced investor protection, like I've said, mechanism being put in place. And at the Commission, Minister, we always say, better lock up your door, even if you have a policeman around. I think the protection should start with yourself. This, in our view, depends on public and a good understanding of our capital markets, like I said. The second point is about the importance of reviewing and harmonizing laws in line with modern practices. Again, the issue of a sandbox has been very, very key to us, in the sense, Minister, that our laws could be considered old and not speaking to the prevailing financial environment. So in 2020, using our law, we came up with the sandbox. This is where people can play or toy around with their ideas, and then the regulator with the implementer coming up with the best form of protection for our market. Minister, in 2019, we also came up with the guidelines to support the government's agenda of greening the financial sector. So we issued the Green Bonds Guidelines in 2019, and as we all know, this has given rise to the issuance of the $200 million bond by CEC, Renewables, out of which we are aware that $53 million was raised in the first tranche, and it was oversubscribed. So in participating in ensuring that the ESGs that were presented by Mr. Mulele are achieved, the Green Bonds Guideline speaks to us. To undertake financial inclusion, again, FinScope survey gave quite a dismal performance for capital markets at 0.6%. We, since 2020, when the last survey was done, I think we've done quite a bit of an improvement using the first program that we were talking about. We have grown from a mere 0.6% to what we consider to be 7% now, Minister, in the sense that if you look at the 6.9 million adult population, we have about 500,000 Zambians or residents participating in capital markets, which gives me something like 7%. So I hope that when next the FinScope survey is done, what I'm saying today, Minister, would be verified to see that we've grown to 7% as opposed to the 0.6% that we had in the 2020 FinScope survey. We do not take statistics just for the mere purpose of statistics, but we want to see that savings get to improve for the development of the country. So in the implementation of the National Strategy on Financial Inclusion, as a co-implementer and as a chair of the financial education sector, the SEC has continued to participate in national financial education campaigns such as the Financial Literacy Week and the World Savings Day. Suffice to mention that the SEC carries out periodic investor education awareness. And as a matter of fact, Minister, every last Thursday of each month, we have town halls, and we've seen a tremendous number of Zambians logging in to get and learn regarding what goes in capital markets. Like I said, investors need to protect themselves even before the regulator comes in. You need to be aware of the services and products that are being put out to you before even the regulator comes in. So awareness is very important. So under the auspices of the National Strategy on Financial Education, SEC has on an annual basis promoted awareness through flagship investor education programs, such as the Capital Markets Schools Challenge and the World Investor Week. Sometimes I get to say, Minister, that maybe some of us are already written off, and can we get back to the basics? Schools forms part of, I think, a larger awareness agenda, and that's the Schools Challenge, where universities and other colleges get to participate, forms part of awareness. It's gratifying, Minister, to note and report that the last year's Schools Challenge was actually won by a nursing school from Solwezi. We really had to, like, okay, what's going on here? But I think that just goes to show that awareness, I think, is getting to the core of each and every Zambian. What we expected was that maybe a business school would win the debate. But I think they came ill-prepared, and we ended up with a very, very good observation that awareness, I think, is being embraced by each and every Zambian. So in terms of education or enhanced financial consumer protection, I think with our colleagues at CCPC, this is another area that needs to be looked into, even as we get to launch this particular stage. Minister, in conclusion, you may agree that the above mentioned elements align with the objectives of the strategy that you'll be launching, and therefore making its implementation is a key priority, not only for the Commission, but for every one of us. As you may also be aware, the SEC, alongside the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, launched the Capital Markets Master Plan. I think it was done in this same room, where, Minister, you graced that occasion on behalf of the President to launch the Capital Markets Master Plan. So people may ask, what is this animal? Basically, Minister and guests, the Capital Market Master Plan, which is anchored on the 8th National Development Plan, aims to further develop capital markets as a subsector of the financial sector. For us to grow jobs in the private sector, we need to ensure that finance goes to the private sector. How do we do it? We can only do so through a robust secondary market, such as the capital markets, where long-term finance could be enhanced. In summary, the vision for the Capital Markets Master Plan is aims at repositioning the Zambian capital markets to become an attractive international destination for long-term investment and be the primary source of long-term capital. Minister, at the Commission, we look forward to a day when companies, for instance, under the IDC, will be coming to the capital markets to borrow, to raise finance on their own balance sheets and expose those balance sheets to the market instead of running to your ministry every time they need finance. I think that's what we aim to do with the capital markets. Sidetracking a bit, I was just speaking to the new IDC CEO, who happened to be the person who taught me how to audit in October of 1994. We were meeting for the first time since he impacted auditing knowledge into me, but I'm now a totally different person. But thanks to him, he did participate in making sure that I grow. In conclusion, and I hope these are few remarks, I wish to reiterate that we have a crucial role to play in advancing financial inclusion, whose ultimate goal is to create a platform for enhanced citizens' participation in the economy. in pursuit of socio-economic transformation for improved livelihoods as per the 8th National Development Plan. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chitalu, as the CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I will now go on to invite the Pensions and Insurance Authority, PIA, and to represent the PIA is the Registrar, Mrs. Namakao Mungia Ntini. Let's give her a big round of applause as she makes her way here.
Good morning, everyone. I was recently reminded that it's actually a greeting, so when somebody says good morning, they expect a response. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much. Allow me to write on the protocols that have been firmly established, but perhaps to give due recognition to our guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane. Good morning, sir, and we are happy for you to grace this occasion. On behalf of the patients, technology sometimes fails you. Let me just pick up my hard copy. On behalf of the Pensions and Insurance Authority, I'm delighted to speak at today's auspicious event where we're witnessing the launch of the second National Financial Inclusion Strategy for Zambia. This strategy is indeed a testament to government's renewed commitment to address the challenges that have negatively impacted the achievement of universal access to financial services. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, during the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy, we had set out to achieve universal access to and promote the usage of broad range of quality and affordable financial products and services in both the formal and informal sectors. While we may not have achieved all the goals, we are proud to say that we implemented over 63% of the initiatives. During the implementation of the 2017 to 2022 National Financial Inclusion Strategy, the country recorded an increase in financial inclusion from 59.3% in 2015 to 69.4%. I think Mr. Molele ably outlined this in his presentation. This is as reflected in the 2020 FinScope survey. I must hasten to mention that the pensions and insurance sectors equally made significant strides during this time, despite the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic that we saw in 2019. The insurance sector saw an increase in the use of products and services from 2.8% to approximately 6%, while the pension sector saw an increase of 8.2% in 2020 from 6% in 2015. The Pensions and Insurance Authority, in collaboration with industry players and with the support of development partners, focused on three key thematic areas to increase uptake in the pensions and insurance sectors. These were diverse, innovative, and customer-centric products, finance for micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as agricultural growth, and financial consumer protection and capabilities. I don't know what's happening to my document. documents today. I seem to be missing something. Sorry about that. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the insurance and pension sector achieved a significant number of milestones during the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy. Key among them, the introduction of a responsive and appropriate regulatory framework through the enactment of the Insurance Act No. 38 of 2021. For those that may not have been aware, the insurance industry in Zambia was still using, prior to 2021, an Insurance Act that was enacted in 1997. And I'm sure, as you would imagine, that means that we had a number of issues that we are not attending to, that the sector needed to respond to. The issuance of microinsurance guidelines as a bridging gap to the emerging demands of the informal sector. These guidelines were issued in a test and learning environment because we didn't have a regulatory framework for microinsurance, and it is still yet to be promulgated. But we can confirm that we do have a number of microinsurance products that have been issued out to the market. We've also seen the introduction of index insurance on the Farmer Input Support Program. This is FISIP, and we do have about 5 insurance companies that are participating in that program. The establishment of the market conduct units within the regulator to effectively deal with consumer concerns, because initially our focus was on prudential supervision, but we saw the need to look at issues around market conduct to efficiently address the concerns of the customers. We also saw the introduction of insurance industry awards as a way to incentivize the market to respond accordingly. We also saw the entry of insurtechs in our insurance industry, and these are entities that were coming in to support the insurance players to effectively deliver their products. We also saw the promulgation of the pension scheme investment guidelines of 2021 to open up the investment landscape of pension funds. We also developed the trustees training curriculum as part of enhancing the capacity of pension scheme trustees to provide oversight in the management and governance of pension schemes. I think those that are familiar with the pensions industry, trustees play a critical role in ensuring that they are able to offer better outcomes for their pension scheme members. The authority also, with support of development partners, carried out a study to ascertain the viability of micro-pensions in Zambia. I think we can all agree, ladies and gentlemen, that generally our population is in the informal sector. So how do we provide long-term savings for retirement for this segment of the population? So we undertook this study, and we can confidently say that once the promulgation of the pension scheme regulation bill is successful, these are some of the provisions that we will see. Further, the Pensions and Insurance Authority issued key fact statements and corporate governance guidelines. The key fact statements are very crucial to disclosure issues in the financial sector. I think we all agree that issues around financial concepts and themes are very difficult to grasp. My colleague from the Securities and Exchange Commission did clearly elaborate the initiatives that we are doing to bridge the knowledge gap in the financial sector. And so beyond bridging the knowledge gap, service providers are expected to highlight certain key concepts within the products and services that they are offering to the public. So basically, it's your usual T's and C's that they need to deal with. And we also issued corporate governance guidelines, like I earlier mentioned, to just enhance the oversight of the trustees as well as the board of directors in insurance entities. I think there is data that you can find across the globe that shows clearly that the failures that we've had in the financial sector largely fall on corporate governance. And Zambia has not been spared. We do have failures within the market, and they can all be pointed to corporate governance. So that's one of the key issues that we worked on during this strategic period. And I believe that deserves a round of applause in terms of the achievements that we've done. So please feel free to give us a round of applause. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may wish to note that the authority has also done a lot of work around the pension reforms through the revision of the current Pension Scheme Regulation Act, and this was following the Cabinet approval in principle that gave us the go-ahead to proceed. Guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, as we look into the future, I have noted that we have set out ambitious targets for ourselves, and that is to see at least 85% of the population being financially included by 2028. Under the second financial inclusion strategy, not only do we want to achieve universal access and usage to a broad range of financial products and services, we have also set out to enrich the customer experience in the financial sector. I think when you look at the sector that I preside over, particularly the insurance sector, there are a number of complaints that you get to see. And really, this is a challenge that we've given ourselves in the Nfis too, that we must enrich the customer experience. First of all, are they getting the right products that are meeting their needs? And are those products being timely serviced by the service provider when need arises? We've also set out to ensure that we have a clear consumer dispute mechanism. Sometimes people shy away, and results have shown that one of the reasons why people don't interact with the financial services sector is because they're not sure of where to go to when something goes wrong. I think we did see in the sketch that was earlier done of the many financial scams that are happening. With digitization, we have seen that scammers have also come to the party. And so it's important for consumers to have the confidence that they can go and complain somewhere and somebody will pay attention to what they're doing. And I can confidently say in the Insurance Act of 2021, we have set out very clear provisions in terms of what industry needs to do. Allow me to reflect on the 8 thematic areas that have been highlighted and presented and indicate that they have not only highlighted both issues that are currently subsisting in our market, but they are also looking at emerging issues that we need to do to achieve inclusion. As a regulator, we have taken a keen interest in the underserved populations, as well as the emerging subject matter of environmental, social, and governance. The inclusion of refugees, senior citizens, and persons with disabilities among the currently underserved population will present a significant shift in the way we are currently doing things, and we hope that we can serve this underserved population better. Further, the declaration of a national disaster following the drought that we are currently experiencing speaks to the impact that climate change has on our nation, and as such, it is critical that the financial sector effectively responds to these emerging risks. We envision a time when pension funds will play a critical role in sustainable investment. Currently, our pensions industry, Honourable Minister, is fragmented in Zambia, and we believe that if we can have some form of aggregation, we can galvanize those resources and direct them to key development projects that our nation requires. And possibly, we could also extend the same to the region. And we hope that by doing so, we can all respond to the call of greening our environment. Distinguished guests, the backbone of our economy is the agricultural sector, which relies heavily on rainfall. The financial sector must be able to provide resilience to this sector during the times of uncertainty, such as what we are currently experiencing in the country. We have seen the strides that the banking sector has made to respond to the call that the President made, I must hasten to mention that the authority has engaged the insurance industry through a maiden CEO's retreat that we had to speak to some of the issues that the industry needs to respond to. And one of the issues that we hope to see the industry engage in is to partner with government to develop a more robust risk mitigation framework beyond the current farmer input support program. Allow me in conclusion to highlight that a robust and sustainable insurance and pension sector is key to a thriving financial sector. We cannot express in words our gratitude to all our development partners and stakeholders that had worked with us in the first phase of the Nfis. And we believe that, and I believe that my fellow financial sector regulators share sentiments as well, share the same sentiments as well. It is our hope that as we embark on the second phase of our strategy, our key stakeholders and development partners will still take this journey with us, and we hope that we can all achieve better outcomes for the people of Zambia, because financial inclusion means we are touching the lives of that person in the far-flung area of Zambia who is hoping that the persons that are sitting in this auditorium this morning will be able to come up with solutions to deal with the financial challenges that they have, be it saving, be it investments, be it risk management through insurance, as well as planning for long-term retirement. And so we implore our key partners to take this next phase with us. And on that note, I thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Madam Namakao Ntini, the Registrar and CEO of PIA, Pensions and Insurance Authority. Next, we're going to have a representative of the Bank of Zambia, Governor, and this is the Director for Non-Bank Financial Institution Supervision, Madam Frida Temba. Let's give her a round of applause as well, shall we?
Good morning, everyone. In the interest of time, I will also write on the protocols which have already been established, and I'm very mindful that I think my fellow regulators have gone a bit over the time allocated. Despite us being regulators, we're not doing very well, so I will try my best. But maybe just to recognize, of course, our guest of honor this morning, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stondeko Msokotwane, MP. On behalf of the Governor of the Bank of Zambia, it's a great honor and privilege for me to be here this morning to witness the launch of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, the second one, which will span the period 2024 to 2028. This launch today marks a very significant milestone in our collective journey towards a more inclusive and resilient financial system. As we embark on this journey, it's imperative that we recognize the importance of financial inclusion for all segments of society. We also need to reflect on the successes over the last 5 years under the Nfis 1. We have made significant strides in expanding access to financial services and promoting inclusion across our nation. Allow me just to highlight a few successes from the perspective of the Bank of Zambia. A bit like a mirror image of the Registrar PIA's recently concluded speech, so to help me to summarize further. But firstly, the regulatory framework. Honorable Minister, we revised the Banking and Financial Services Act in 2017, and we included certain provisions to enhance financial inclusion. These do with customer protection. And again, similar to Namakao, even us at the Bank of Zambia, we have now set up a specific dedicated unit to look at consumer protection and market conduct. In fact, I'm still officially Director Non-Bank Financial Institution Supervision, but my new title, which will be announced to the market soon, is Director Financial Conduct. So we'll be placing more emphasis on the conduct of the market, consumer protection as well. Also, the implementation of the movable property registry system in 2017, which was equally facilitated by the World Bank, has enabled individuals and businesses to collateralize movable assets such as livestock, machinery, and receivables. And this has enabled enhanced access to credit for individuals and households. The regulatory sandbox, I think, was already spoken to by the CEO of the Securities and Exchange Commission, so similarly, we're doing the same thing. But also to highlight, I think one key game changer in the sector has been the guidelines around agency banking. I think you'll agree with me that agency banking provided us with a significant shift, bringing banking outside of the branch and closer to communities and households. In addition to this, under the Nfis 1, the Bank of Zambia promoted, or rather introduced, additional mobile payments use cases on the national financial switch. With the bank, other stakeholders as well, mobile network operators, to enhance interoperability of financial transactions across different banking platforms. I think you will agree with me that this ability to transfer money from the bank to the e-wallet has really been a game changer for our financial landscape. These initiatives, I think, along with the others mentioned earlier by the other regulators, have contributed to a very significant increase in financial inclusion. So underscoring the success and some of the challenges, as were highlighted by Director Mlele earlier, this second strategy is a continuation of measures which, when implemented, will definitely improve the lives of Zambian adults, especially those who have been historically underserved and marginalized. Honorable Minister, some of the key themes of the NFIS include financial inclusion for MSMEs. I think Director Mlele also did allude to the fact that a couple of weeks ago we did launch the MSME Finance Survey, where we realized that a lot of these entities face significant challenges. So the fact that it's a dedicated thematic area within this strategy will enable us, help them to grow, access credit, access financial services, and contribute. They're already contributing so much to our economic growth in Zambia, but if they're assisted, they can do so much more. The area of rural-based financial services is also key. I think already the figures speak to the fact that within the urban areas, financial inclusion is quite high at 84.4. In the rural areas, it's at 56.9. I think this gap really needs to be reduced. So we really can't overlook this aspect as well. Then, of course, we have to continue to address the needs of women, youths, forcibly displaced persons, and persons with disabilities as well. I just want to take this opportunity, Minister, ladies and gentlemen, to just encourage our financial service providers to understand your clientele, know them well, design products which will suit their needs, not which you think will suit their needs. So I think being able to understand, especially the underserved segments, will help us actually tap in to a lot of resources which are out there. I will digress because we've seen this a lot at the bank. We have Ponzi schemes which actually collect so much money from our population out there. Imagine if that money was actually being transferred into the formal financial system, how it would help. And these are relatively cheap deposits for financial service providers. So it's important. It means that there's something we're not able to provide, and yet there is a need out there, and hence people easily go into these sectors which are unregulated. So, Honorable Minister and distinguished guests, this strategy also recognizes the transformative power of digital technology in advancing financial inclusion. We've seen the impact that mobile financial services has had on financial inclusion. Even in the presentation shared earlier, we saw that mobile is now the #1 leading provider of financial services. So digital technology is very important, and we will ensure that we strengthen customer protection to ensure that the underserved or people who are using these services are treated fairly and have access to reliable financial services. This particular strategy, NFIS 2, also aims to build a more inclusive financial system that is sustainable and resilient. We all don't need to be told about what is happening in our environment, and the financial sector has a key role to play. So to close, I think I've kept to my 5 minutes. Honorable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, achieving financial inclusion is not just a goal. It's a moral imperative, and we are all here today because one entity, one stakeholder cannot do this by themselves. The ministry cannot do it. The regulators cannot do it. The financial service providers cannot do it alone. But if we work together and we collaborate, we can achieve so much more. I think under the Nfis 1, we did collaborate, a bit disrupted by COVID. But going into the collaboration which has gone into the production of this document, and if we use the same spirit, the stakeholders bring the same energy into the implementation of this strategy, we will achieve our goal, which is 85% for this strategic period, but universal financial inclusion for our country. I thank you.
Thank you, Frida, from the Bank of Zambia, representing the governor. We are mindful that our guest of honor may have to be whisked away for other national duties, so we will do our best to have all the presentations presented to him while he is here. And the next one to speak is the World Bank Country Manager, Mr. Akim Falk. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Akim Falk as he comes.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Sitobeko Musukodwane, high-level officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's really an honor for me to be here in front of you and witness the launching of the second National Financial Inclusion Strategy. I'd like to congratulate the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, all the regulators and everybody who participated in the production of this important strategy. I also like to recognize what has been achieved already so far, right? Achieving a 10% percentage point increase in financial inclusion is a big success, and you're doubling down on this, on getting now for another 15% over the next 4 years. So I like to recognize this. We're very pleased at the World Bank that we were able to provide some support, and we will continue to do so. I'd like to underscore today that the financial inclusion is not merely an end goal, but it is rather also a powerful means to improve people's well-being and livelihood and expand economic activities and further contribute to achieving numerous other development objectives. At the World Bank, we observe this across various facets of our works. For instance, as part of our support to ensure a robust social protection delivery system and to promote private sector development, we recognize that establishing an inclusive financial system with low barriers to accessing financial products such as basic savings account, microinsurance, MSME finance, and along with a population that possesses a high level of financial literacy, all this will be advantageous to achieving those objectives. I would also like to highlight and recognize the addition of climate change consideration, as well as the continued emphasis on gender, youth, and smallholder farmers in the second NFIS. And of course, the idea to really address and target all segments of the population. Given the multitude of benefits associated with financial inclusion, this agenda continues to be a strategic priority for the World Bank's work here in Zambia, and as part of our vision to create a world free of poverty on a livable planet. This focus area is paramount due to the persistent high level of poverty and inequality, and we will keep with this commitment in order to provide technical assistance and financial support for the development and implementation as we have done for the first NFIS and will continue to do so for the second one. Amidst the multiple challenges faced by Zambia, including fiscal vulnerability and lack of infrastructure, empowering community through financial inclusion hinges on two key factors: our ability to innovate and our ability and willingness to collaborate. And we like to hope that this spirit that we've seen in the development of the second financial inclusion strategy will continue also throughout its implementation. We believe that it is imperative to harness innovation and collaboration, including for driving infrastructure enhancement and thereby encouraging greater uptake of digital financial services and the creation of more inclusive products. In conclusion, let me just wish again all of you, led by the government, wish you all success with the implementation of the second financial inclusion strategy. We at the World Bank clearly stand ready to work together with all of you and look forward to achieving the objective of this strategy to achieving an 85% financial inclusion by 2028. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fall. That's one of the main stakeholders and partners in the development of this strategy, the World Bank, and we're grateful. Another major partner is the United Nations, and the UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Beatrice Mutali, is here, and we'll invite her now to come and give her remarks. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Beatrice Mutali, the UN Resident Coordinator.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, and a very good morning to all participants. Guest of honor, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to rest on the protocol already observed. It gives me great pleasure to be here today, and on behalf of the United Nations family, I extend our congratulations to you, Honorable Minister, and by extent to the government of Zambia on the launch of the second iteration of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, the NFIS. I'm honored to join the launch event, especially given that inclusion is at the core of our efforts at the United Nations, and we happily partner with the government of Zambia in helping to drive inclusion efforts in various sectors. Financial inclusion, as we all here are quite aware, is a key contributor to economic growth through stimulating the movement of money across the country, across the economy, increasing access to key products and services, such as credit and investments, and providing a means for individuals and households to make up for their expenses and save for future expenses. As noted in the presentation earlier on the new strategy, the most recent FinScope survey of Zambia showed an increase in financial inclusion from the 59.3% in 2015 to 69.4% in 2020. No doubt this figure has since increased as we see a continued increase in the adoption of formal and informal financial services, a growing variety of financial products available on the market, and an expanding base of service providers, including the banks, microfinance institutions, mobile money providers, and increasing fintechs. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, while we have made advancements, as has been noted in the presentation we heard earlier, there are certain segments of our population that remain at the margins of the formal financial sector. Some of these include the smallholder farmers, casual laborers, and workers in the informal sector and SMEs. Additionally, while we have seen a growth in the uptake of mobile money services, there is an opportunity to deepen access to certain financial services such as credit insurance and investments in order for inclusion to become a more meaningful metric. It is therefore commendable that the vision of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy focuses on resilience and financial health, as well as achieving sustainability and ensuring customer capabilities. It is against this backdrop that the United Nations was privileged to support the implementation and review of the first NFIS 2017 to 2022, together with the World Bank and other partners, and also provided technical support to the development of the new National Financial Inclusion Strategy. Furthermore, the UN, through various agencies, particularly UNCDF and UNDP, have developed initiatives together with the public and private sector, which are aimed at driving the financial inclusion and expansion and deepening the financial sector in Zambia. From supporting the digitalization of utility payments to supporting financial education efforts, developing enabling regulatory instruments for financial innovation, and de-risking lending to SMEs, the UN in Zambia remains committed to continuing its work in alignment with the thematic areas proposed in the strategy being launched today. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, let me note that the UN in Zambia is committed to supporting the implementation of the second iteration of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy within the context of our Zambia UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for the period 2023 to 2027. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mutali, the Resident Coordinator of the UN system in Zambia. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to be addressed by our guest of honor, the Honorable Dr. Situmbeko Musokotwane, NP, the Minister of Finance and National Planning. Let's put our hands together for our guest of honor.
Thank you. Please take your seats. Let me also say good morning to everyone. And right on the protocols that we already established, and of course recognizing the important partners that we do have. We have supported this program, the World Bank, the UN system, and the various partners that we have, the regulators, and so forth. There are two things that we are doing this morning. Firstly, is to review the strategy that we started implementing from 2017 to 2022 on national financial inclusion. So review that, how did we do? And next, of course, is to launch the successor program, which will run for the period 2024 to 2028. I wish to pay glowing gratitude to all the colleagues that participated in implementing the first program 2017 to 2022. I think for me, this is a unique example because there are so many times when we in government, we launch various initiatives. I think we are all aware of that, just how many initiatives get launched every other day. But what I find to be very unique about this particular initiative is we can sit down today and reflect on the specific successes, that we all know that have happened from the time when the first program was launched. How many of us today still go and queue up in the bank on a daily basis because you want to send money to a child who is in school, or you want to go and pay for DSTV, or you want to do, what is the other thing that we used to do? So many. Today, most of us, we can sit in the comfort of our homes, and any time of the day, including midnight, and we'll be able to do financial transactions that previously required us to spend money to move, spend time standing in the queue. So I think this is a very tangible benefit of this initiative, never seen before, and the country deserves to give itself a round of applause because it's a tangible benefit. On the basis of that, obviously, we get encouraged that we should move forward to do more. This is why I'm very happy to be part of this gathering today, where we can say we've made success. Can we do more and achieve more success? Obviously, there are areas that still lag behind. Financial inclusion within our population, we know that it remains a challenge in certain segments of the population. It remains a challenge, more especially in the rural areas. Even though we've made progress, because I can tell you, even in my village, I can buy fish using mobile money. And the fisherman will not ask me and say, "You've just sent a message to my phone. Can you now put real money on my table?" They don't do that. They accept that message to be money. But nevertheless, in many parts of the country, this still remains a challenge. We know also that the gender aspect of equity in this initiative requires attention. Those who are challenged in one way or another, especially the physically challenged, and I hope that this time round we are going to address those with a lot of vigor. I also want to say that for those of us who get elected in constituencies, I want to mention one particular fact. I've said this over and over before, and I'll say it again. School children still get disadvantaged because every so often their teachers in the most remote areas must leave the school to go and get paid. In my constituency, for example, the remotest part of the constituency takes the teacher 3 days to walk to the nearest bank. 3 days of walking. Walking because there are no motor vehicles. As you know, my constituency is heavily challenged in terms of road network. So people have to walk. 3 days to walk. They go and get paid, do their shopping, another 2 days, another 3 days to walk back. So you're talking about almost 80 days, but in practice, they normally take about 10 days. That is 10 days of lost time for the children to be educated. So I want to make an appeal, those of you who are going to implement this. Can you please find a solution? I think we are way ahead in terms of what we've achieved, but let's make that final push to make sure that teachers, as many teachers as possible, can be paid where they are staying, of course through the electronic devices, and also to make sure that as many vendors as possible, where necessary to convert these messages into actual cash, as many vendors as possible are available. The whole intention is to minimize the movement of the teachers so that the children can have their full time in terms of learning. I've been told, and I hope you've just taken into account what I've said about addressing teachers and pupils, but I've been told that the strategy 2024 to 2028 builds on the gains so far achieved and is a renewed commitment to address those gaps, such as the one that I've just mentioned. I'm therefore fully aligned to the next strategy, whose vision is, and I quote, an inclusive and a robust financial ecosystem that provides accessible, affordable, and sustainable financial products and services to all segments of the population, which help increase their resilience, improve their financial health, and building their confidence in the financial system. All segments of the population, including the school children and their teachers. This is an ambitious vision for which I, once again, am fully aligned. And the strategy sets out a framework and interventions for boosting financial inclusion for all citizens. And among these are promoting and incentivizing the use of electronic transaction in the rural areas, such as for the teachers, pupils, and so forth. Integrating financial inclusion data within e-government services or systems. Promoting the development and usage of green, customer-centric, innovative financial products and services for different tiers of the population and businesses. And this morning I was on messaging with a number of financial institutions. First of all, to thank the Stanbic who have taken the initiative. They are saying financial change is with us. This year we are facing energy challenges because the water that we used for driving the machines to make electricity is not there. And this advert from Stanbic says, come to us, come and borrow money so that you can buy solar panels, you can buy an inverter, you can buy what's the other thing? Batteries. You make that investment and then you pay back slowly over a period of time. I urge the other banks that I was communicating with to say, follow suit. Let's not just complain about situations. A human being is a human being because we must adapt ourselves to challenges that we face. And in my view, this initiative that has been taken is a very good example of how we can adapt to situations. I wish this was done 4 years ago, because 4 years ago, in my household, we decided we were going to go solar. We didn't have the fortune of a bank to back that process. But because it has taken us 4 years to make this investment slowly, today, when ZESCO load sheds because the electricity must go in a hospital, because the electricity must go in a mine, I'm not bothered because it doesn't affect me. So I know it costs money, but with this response from the banks to say, come to me and I'll save you. Let's take that initiative to respond so that we can save ourselves the inconveniences. I think this is what financial inclusion must also touch on. With that, once again, I want to thank our supporters who have been holding our hands on these issues, both in terms of resources, but also the intellectual resource base to drive this process. I thank everyone who has been involved, the regulators, the service providers, and now the Zambian public. Let's jump into this in a practical sense, and I've given 2 practical examples of how financial inclusion can help us deal with some of the practical problems that we face. School children, they must learn, not teachers to run off and stay for 2 weeks to get paid. And now, with the looming power shortage, with the financial facilities that are being offered by the financial institutions, let's jump at it. Thank you so much, and we wish ourselves a good day.
Thank you, guest of honor. May I ask those at the high table to just come and join our guest of honor in front of the stage here for the cutting of the ribbon to signify the launch of Nfis 2, and it will be presented by Ensemble Arts, the group that is here. assemble arts. We will now go into the awarding of the appointment certificates to the different working groups for NFIS. And when I call out the name of the institution, we'll ask the representative to come forward to receive the certificate. We'll start with the Bank of Zambia. The Bank of Zambia will be the Digital Financial Services and Financing Infrastructure Working Group Secretariat. And to come is Madam Frida Temba. We can give them a round of applause as well. As the Director of Financial Conduct Supervision. So that's Digital Financial Services and Financial Infrastructure Working Group. The next working group is the Pensions and Insurance Working Group, and, well, it will be headed by the Pensions and Insurance Authority, Madam Registrar and CEO. A round of applause for her as well. The next working group is the Capital Markets and ESG Working Group, to be headed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. They'll be followed by the Financial Consumer Protection and Capability Working Group, to be headed by the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, CCPC. And last but certainly not least, Monitoring and Evaluation, Data and Research, to be headed by ZAMSTATS, Zambia Statistics Agency. Let's give ZAMSTATS a big round of applause as well. So these are the working group secretariats for NFIS. And has ZAMSTATS come? Oh, okay. So a big round of applause for all the secretariats that have been appointed. Guest of honor, we know you have a pressing appointment that you have to attend to now, so we will excuse you now and then continue with the other activities after. So we can give our guest of honor a round of applause. Thank you very much, Dr. Musokotwane. He's actually stayed longer than he should have, so we're grateful for the sacrifice. Rest of the high table, you can escort him and then return for the closing formalities of this official opening ceremony. So we have a panel discussion that will be coming up in just a little while. And this will be looking at the lessons learned from NFIS 1 implementation and the NFIS 2 priorities moving forward. Thank you, Dr. Musokotwane.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And in this forum, the panelists will include the SEC, Bank of Zambia, PIA, Zanamaka, FSDZ, that's Financial Sector Deepening Zambia, and ZACI. That will come, like I said, in just a little while, and it will be moderated by the World Bank. We also have exhibition stands that would like to invite all of you to take time to visit, just to see what is happening with those that are involved in these different initiatives. We will have a vote of thanks from the Bankers Association of Zambia in just a little while, as soon as the delegates who have escorted our guest of honor return to join us again. So please stick around, and of course we will have refreshments at the very end of our program, which we'd like for all of you to stay for and share before we allow you to return to your normal duties for the rest of the day. So we will have some music in the meantime, as we get ready for the vote of thanks. Before the vote of thanks, there is a presentation also that we would like to share with you, a multimedia presentation on the interactive presentation covering NFIS 1 journey and a snapshot of NFIS 2. That will be coming later. Perhaps in a little while. If it's ready now, we can. Okay? Please turn your attention to the screen.
Is fueled by the dreams and aspirations of its people. The path to inclusive growth through financial empowerment is not just a goal, but a necessity. The government of Zambia recognized the need for a comprehensive national financial inclusion strategy to accelerate progress towards inclusive, stable, and competitive financial sector development. With the implementation of the first national financial inclusion strategy, Zambia increased the overall level of financial inclusion
from 59.3% in 2015 to 69.4% in 2020. During the same period, formal financial inclusion rose from 38.2% to 61.3%. Financial inclusion among the financially underserved segments has also made significant strides. The FinScope survey in 2020 indicated that between 2015 and 2020, financial inclusion among females and in rural areas recorded a percentage increase of approximately 18% and 14% respectively. Mobile payments play a major role in supporting the financial inclusion agenda, as evidenced by a staggering 190% increase in usage, from 552 million transactions in 2019 to 1.58 billion transactions in 2022. Enhancing the financial sector will allow all Zambians to reap the full benefits of financial inclusion. The government of Zambia, with support from the World Bank, developed the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2024 to 2028. This represents a renewed commitment to addressing the remaining challenges and gaps, setting the strategic roadmap to achieve 85% financial inclusion in the next 5 years. The second National Financial Inclusion Strategy covers 6 thematic areas and 2 cross-cutting areas. Key stakeholders, including regulatory authorities, public institutions, the private sector, and cooperating partners, have played a crucial role in supporting the implementation of the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy and remain dedicated to furthering the vision of the second National Financial Inclusion Strategy. This agenda to advance financial inclusion serves as a testament to the government of Zambia's unwavering commitment to ensuring inclusive development for all. Through financial inclusion, we will unlock the potential within everyone in Zambia and promote well-being and prosperity, fostering a nation where every dream has a chance to flourish.
gentlemen, we would like to now go into the forum discussion. And this is going to focus on the lessons learned from NFIS 1, its implementation, and the priorities for NFIS 2 moving forward. And this will be moderated by Mr. Isaku Endo from the World Bank. The panelists, and as I call out the name of the institution, the appointed representative, you're asked to come and take or pick a seat on the stage. We have Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. Let's give the gentleman a big hand as he comes. I say the big hand, yes. Let's encourage him. Thank you. Then the Bank of Zambia, boss, Madam Temba, let's give her a hand too. The Pensions and Insurance Authority, PIA. Zanamaka. FSDZ. And last but not least, Zaki. The Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Okay. So we have SEC, Bank of Zambia, PIA, Zanamaka, FSDZ, and Zaki. Now I'd like to invite Isaku Endo to take over and moderate this session. Isaku.
I hope you can you hear me? This mic. So good morning. Thank you very much for joining again for the launch of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2. I think the guest of honor, the minister, finance minister, also other distinguished guests, in their speeches, they highlighted key challenges and sort of aspiration for the financial inclusion. And I'm very honored to be a moderator for this panel. And then now the nice speeches are done. This is my opportunity to push a little bit each panelist and then think through what really we can do for implementation. We see lots of representatives from the private sector. If you walk out of this room, you can see many booths. I also want to challenge the private sector colleagues. This is not just for marketing, but just to be brainstorm and be creative. And then think about risks, and then be not just the traditional risks, but to think a little bit harder how we can develop products, for example, tailored for certain segments of society. I think, as the Minister mentioned, I think this launch of this strategy, together with the review of the financial NFIS first, NFIS, I think it's a valuable occasion to look back what we have done well and then not so well, and then think through how we can do it. Things have changed, as you know, that in the last few years we saw the challenges through pandemic, and then geopolitical issues, and then there are things that we cannot control. But I think together we can again address those challenges, emerging challenges, even things that these strategy documents are not covering. And then I think these working groups and then also this community will come together and identify new challenges and then address it together. Now, we have representatives from both private sector and then also the regulators. And I like this, and then this panel is to focus on dialogue between the public and the private sector, but also enhance collaboration. So in that spirit, that I like to start the questions, and then how we moderate. Also, we have limited time, so I ask the panelists a few questions, and then their responses, and then if I need, I want to grill a little bit further, if you allow us. Now, Bank of Zambia, Ms. Tamba. The Bank of Zambia's role is also important in financial sector stability, also inclusion. But I'd like to start with you by asking, what is really the Bank of Zambia's strategic focus in contributing to financial inclusion?
Good morning and thank you. First of all, the Bank of Zambia, of course, our main mandate and focus is to formulate and implement monetary policy and financial stability as well. So when it comes to issues of financial inclusion, I think we do play quite a key role in motivating the financial service providers who are under our ambit to make sure that they're able to contribute positively to the national financial inclusion strategy and the national agenda. So coincidentally, the Bank of Zambia has just completed the formulation of our new strategic plan, which is running from 2024 to 2027. And it has a number of strategic pillars, but key among them, which I can mention now, is one on financial stability and financial inclusion. So under financial inclusion, some of the responsibilities or activities the bank will undertake were actually even highlighted as part of the thematic areas under the Nfis 2. So firstly, of course, that we've spoken about technology and digital financial services. So under our strategic plan, we have a strategic initiative under the financial inclusion pillar to leverage on technology to promote safety and efficiency of utilization of financial services. I think we all know that we are all going digital and electronic, but under this, as much as there's a lot of positive developments using electronic, mobile money, so on, there are also some risks, and I think we've all experienced maybe at one point or another some fraudulent message, but there are also risks like cyber risks, technology risks, even for key financial service providers who are providing these services. They must ensure that their systems are resilient and strong enough, robust enough to make sure that they can manage and mitigate the risks that come with digital financial services. So the Bank of Zambia is focused on ensuring that financial service providers have robust systems, resilient systems to manage technology and also to manage some of the risks that come with that. But another strategic initiative under this pillar is the eKYC, which was spoken about under the Nfis 2. I think what we intend to do, working with other stakeholders, is to make sure that we have a one-stop shop for Know Your Customer information, so that financial service providers do not have to recollect information which maybe a consumer has already submitted. So we'll make sure that we have one platform which will enable collection of electronic data, and it will be stored in one time, so customers will be able to benefit from this. Again, consumer protection when it comes to DFS, we will enhance awareness. We've already been undertaking awareness campaigns, but we'll enhance these so that customers are aware of what their obligations and responsibilities, but also what their rights are. And I think if you have a more aware and alert consumer base, you are sure that some of these issues will be brought to the fore quickly and addressed by financial service providers. If I can just quickly speak to financial stability, which is the second strategic pillar for the Bank of Zambia. I think we all know that maybe 95% of formal service providers for financial services are regulated by the Bank of Zambia. So if we have, like I earlier said, strong institutions which are able to provide safe and sound services to their customers, then we are sure that financial inclusion will be promoted, because when customers have confidence in the financial system, they are then able to utilize it better. So we make sure that we are regulating our institutions to operate in a safe and sound manner. So we're doing this, we have three-pronged approach. First of all, to speak to the ESG aspect, which again is a theme of the NFIS 2, we really intend to enhance the resilience of the financial sector to be able to manage environmental, social, and governance risks. So we have already introduced green loans guidelines, but we also have a green finance framework, which is helping us to address how these risks are moderated, mitigated, and identified within financial service providers. Another issue is the issue of data. We will enhance data collection from financial service providers so that when we're looking at some of the statistics, they're based on solid data. We intend to collect more granular information from financial service providers. We will be introducing a SupTech system, which means we collect online real-time information, which will enable us make appropriate policy. And I think lastly, to speak about cyber resilience and fraud mitigation, also from the financial service provider point of view. I think I'll stop here.
No, thank you, Mr. Lamba. Now, you spoke with the important part of technology, also data innovation. And then I think that drives the innovation in the financial services. And then also you talk about risk management. And then also hopefully that coordination between the Bank of Zambia, as well as sort of encouraging the private sector to take more risks, but also measured risks, right? So to make sure the financial stability is warranted. But now, turn to insurance sector. Now, the Madam Registrar also spoke about the microinsurance and the different products, right? And in the spirit of innovation, it's just not only technology, but is there any, at PIA, what are you looking at in terms of driving innovation, especially tailored products to promote financial inclusion and in certain segments?
So at PIA, what we are actually doing now is developing the microinsurance regulations. I think she mentioned earlier when she spoke. But beyond that, we've already issued guidelines around microinsurance products, and we'll be further developing sandbox regulations that will allow us to have different innovators develop products in there in a controlled environment for a certain period. But something that we are taking on this year is our participation in the BIMA Lab Africa, which will be starting in April. And this is an innovation hub that will allow different types of insurtechs to have some capacity building and work with different insurance companies to develop products. And we hope coming from that, we can see products that are innovative, that are speaking to financial inclusion, because some of the things that we tend to see is that traditional products don't necessarily meet the needs of people in rural communities, and we're hoping that with the innovation lab coming to Zambia this year, we can have more insurtechs playing in that field.
Absolutely. And then the role of insurance, especially reducing the cost, also protecting their assets, for example, and then especially MSMEs. And then, the market is wide, but also, as you mentioned, that the awareness and also consumer protection is key. And then speaking of MSME finance, and I'd like to turn to SEC, Mr. Nenda. But one of the challenges is, the role of capital markets is crucial. And then, okay, sorry, thank you. And then CEO talks about the capital market and the development, but also capital market has different sides, right? So demand side and then supply side. Now, in the context of financial inclusion, and then and especially MSME finance, how SEC can push the access to finance through capital market? And if you see any challenges, and then whether that solving this issue requires any coordination with the other regulators. So the two aspects of question is that what is the role of SEC to push the access to finance through capital market, and do you see any sort of opportunity to collaborate with either other regulators or other private sector entities?
Okay, thank you for that question. So we are the regulators for the capital markets, and our mandate is market supervision and market development, which you've touched on. And when you talk about market development, really what we are doing is capital formation. So we are pulling capital that's lying out there from people that have surplus to the people that need them. And in Zambia, one of the biggest sectors that need funding is the MSMEs. So our role as capital markets is to formulate that capital, long-term capital, because you don't want to finance a business with capital that's not appropriate. And most of the SMEs, what you tend to find is that they need long-term capital to give them chance to make the mistakes in the first few years, to stabilize hopefully in the fourth year, and then to become productive in the fifth and so on. And that fits in with our government's agenda in terms of how you develop, because SMEs provide almost 93% of the economic activity in Zambia. So that then downstreams in terms of job creation and all the other things that we want to see as a market. So in terms of, I think you touched on, was it the challenges? So in terms of the challenges, I think you touched on them. One of them is the macroeconomics. As long as we have the macroeconomics the way they are, it's obviously a challenge on MSMEs, because the first thing that goes up is the cost of capital, and the risk appetite for whoever is giving out capital also goes up. But for us, that also presents an opportunity in that capital markets can then come in and begin to structure products that, first of all, take care of the perennial MSME issue, which is everyone looks at an MSME and says they are a risk. So one of the things that capital markets can do is begin to develop products that de-risk MSMEs. So it might be an equity product, but that has a de-risking component financed by a bank or a multinational donor and so on. So those are some of the solutions that can come through capital markets. So on the other side, we'll then be quoting investors that look at how do we finance capital markets. Another thing, Endo, that you might realize is there's always a gap. MSMEs would say they have the projects, they have the market. On the other side, we've got financials that are saying that they have the funds, but somehow those funds are not flowing to MSMEs. And one of the challenges that you tend to see with that is this bankability issue. So one of the initiatives that we've taken as capital markets is to see how do we sort of roll up our sleeves and say we're not going to sit back as regulators, but we are now going to get our hands dirty and say how do we engage the MSMEs, engage the providers of capital, how do we bridge that gap? How do we educate the MSMEs to say this is what you need to do to make your project bankable, to make you yourselves as an MSME bankable. So issues to do with educating them about corporate governance, financial records, collaborating with other MSMEs to make the project bigger, for example. So those are some of the things that we are looking at from a capital markets perspective. I hope I've answered.
No, thank you. Yeah. No, I think three regulators spoke to the issues, how the Zambia goes, from just access to transactional accounts and then next step, right? So one of the challenges is that, we celebrated 80% or certain percentage of adults have a bank account or mobile money account. That's not financial inclusion per se. It's just one step. And then I think what you spoke to was about how we can go beyond, right? And then not just the open accounts, but how we use the account, how we use other types of products to promote financial inclusion. And then I think that's also I like to come to a Chamber of Commerce and in the private sector, right? So especially the firms, SMEs, it's just not about accounts. Of course, the accounts is important, the transparency is important. But I like to hear from you how the firms or your members or the private sector can contribute not only the financial inclusion agenda, but also benefit from the sort of inclusive finance and for MSMEs, firms, so that the sort of ecosystem of financial inclusion can advance. So could you elaborate on that, please?
Thank you so much. When we look at the benefits from the private sector, there are many. I will just mention a few. I think number one is market expansion. Financial inclusion has helped to expand the market, whereby now the private sector has more new customers. They're able to access more from rural areas. I think that was very difficult. It was very costly for the private sector. But now they're able to reach out across the country. And you see, this brings about new customers. Therefore, it helps increasing profitability as well as making the private sector more competitive. Then secondly, it has reduced transaction costs. A long time you find that you needed to place a branch across the country, but now with these digital platforms as well as through USSD, a number of people in the private sector, customers, have embraced the technology as well. So you find that they're able to access services through that, and therefore it has also helped in terms of efficiency. More people are able to access services, and you find that administrative costs have also reduced for us in the private sector. And then another one, just overall, you find that it has also created job creation across the country. I'm sure we are all aware, we've seen so many mobile money agents across the country. And so we have even noticed that banks now have got agents also who are also promoting financial inclusion across the country. It just shows you how much it has created job creation, as well as contributing to tax revenue for the government.
Thank you. But I just wanted to ask you a little bit further on one of the studies that the World Bank does and across the countries, and then one of the key bottleneck is the digital technology adoption by firms. In Zambia, do you see any specific challenges? Because the firms' adoption of technology, either accounting or either the operations, that could unleash the potential, huge potential. And then that could also allow financial institutions to come in to finance, right? So the more data helps the risk management or risk assessment. So what is the key bottleneck in Zambia and in terms of the technology adaptation at the moment?
Thank you for that question again. Yes, we have seen a number of challenges that the private sector is facing when it comes to issues of financial inclusion. I think most people are not aware of these services, and some are actually afraid of using them, thinking we know already there's scammers all over and so on and so forth. So how do they embrace these financial services? So as a chamber, an apex body for the private sector, what we have done is we have collaborated. I'll give you a very good example with Bank of Zambia. From last year up to January this year, we're doing a public awareness program across the country where we went through in the most rural areas to raise more awareness about financial inclusion. And after we did that sensitization program, I will tell you that a number of people were very shocked that these things are so simple and they were able to embrace them. And because we spoke to different businesses, we went to different markets, it just shows the efforts and commitments that we are making as a chamber, and also collaborating with the public sector just to raise more awareness so that we address those challenges that are in the for financial inclusion, yes, services.
Thank you. I'd like to turn to a colleague from Zanamaka. And now, you see also the challenges in your space, and especially the informal sector, MSMEs, and how. So what is what is the key takeaways and how this national financial inclusion strategy can address the challenges that you see in your, especially informal side of the sector, and then any sort of insights that you can share with us to promote financial inclusion.
Well, in the first place, is Zambia National Marketeers Credit Association would like to applaud government's approval of the second National Financial Inclusion Strategy for the period of 2024-2028, and recognizes it as a crucial step towards financial inclusion for all Zambians. The National Financial Inclusion Strategy second, which is number 2, signifies a renewed commitment by governments and stakeholders on universal access by enhancing financial inclusion in Zambia, with a renewed focus on making financial services accessible and affordable to all Zambians, especially the informal sector. A move supported by Zanamaka. This strategy builds on the achievements and lessons learned from the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy 1 of 2017 to 2022, and underscores the importance of inclusive financial access for all actors of sectors, society, including the informal sector. Zanamaka appreciates government's recognition of the informal sector as a key target group for the financial inclusion. Zanamaka's efforts aligns with the objectives, focusing on providing tailored financial products for low-income entrepreneurs, leveraging DFS, and promoting financial literacy by introduction of financial literacy books, which we believe that they can bridge the gap between rural and urban areas. We have advocated also for a consumer protection framework, and data-driven monitoring and evaluation are crucial for evidence-based policy making. Coming to your question, as Zanamaka, we emphasize credit risk assessment, group lending, flexible payment methods to address non-repayment challenges among low-income entrepreneurs in the informal sector. Leveraging innovative financial services like DFS enables Zanamaka to expand its reach and offer convenient credit services to remote areas, thereby empowering entrepreneurs and promoting economic development. We promote flexible repayment plans aligned with cash flow. Working with digital financial services providers, we analyze loan repayment behavior through data and offer convenient and accessible credit services. On our appendix, I think we are looking at the implementation part, which has been a challenge mostly when such programs have been launched. I think we have a challenge on the implementation part, where we've seen that the policymakers, they want to beat the drums and dance for themselves. I think we are more set as an institution to lead the informal sector to ensure that we help in the implementation of this national financial inclusion strategy number 2. To effectively assist in the implementation of the national financial inclusion strategy 2, Zanamaka has planned the following activities. Data capture. I think data capture is one of the key areas that I believe as a country, we don't know how many marketeers we have at the moment. We don't know how many bus and taxi drivers we have. We don't know how many small-scale farmers we have in the country. We don't know how many traders we have. So this is a very huge platform that requires for us to know. And we believe as Zanamaka want to look at data capture while we are educating our people to understand what is this national, financial strategy is all about. So we want to separate between a policymaker and, an implementer. I think for us, we are more on the implementation part, so that, come 2028, we should be talking about 100% of our people in the informal sector participating in this financial inclusion. We also have to do trainings because our people need to understand. This is why I think I talked about the book that we've actually published. This is specifically, it's a book that we need to distribute across the country to all the traders, all the small-scale farmers, all the, bus and taxi drivers. Everyone in the informal sector need to have this book, because we have believed that it's been a challenge for us to walk in the bank and ask for a loan, because we believe in, having the money so that you do your business. But it's been a challenge. So this, we believe that to, create that bridge between the formal and informal. I walk in the bank will ask for my statements of how I run my business. I think this will actually help out today, so that, we are more formalized. So for us, I think we are looking more on the implementation, like I said. We want to ensure that we help in this, strategy program, so that we do very serious partnerships with all the players, with the government, with the corporate, world, and all the players. For example, we already are working with a number of our partners, like Zambia State Insurance, who are providing, a product in, social empowerment. We have NAPSA, also a pension scheme for our informal sector. We have also, workers' compensation. We have NEMA that we also started working with them. And on the financial side, I think Zanaco Bank has come on board, Indo-Zambia Bank, EcoBank, Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank. They've helped us to publish this book. And so a number of them that will come on board, I think we are going to achieve, because it's a win-win situation. Government wants to see that this financial inclusion becomes, for everyone, unlike the way things have been. Our colleagues in the formal can walk in the bank and get the money. They want to build a house, they want to buy a car. How about the majority people, the 6 million people that we want to address these issues? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think one important thing you mentioned about was the change in behaviors, so non-repayment. Also, that related to the financial capability, and then I think that's critical, because non-payment. If a financial service provider heard about non-payment or repayment, then that creates some issues. So I think your work, continued work, efforts on this part is crucial to change behaviors, to change financial behaviors of firms, especially informal sectors as well. But now, FSD Zambia, and then since your presence across the Africa, I think I'd like to ask you about more on the success stories that you know or you can share from different parts of Africa, and also how you can see those success stories, innovations can apply in this particular context of Zambia, and then under the National Financial Inclusion Strategy too. Can you elaborate on the share some success stories that you have observed, and how the Zambia also can enjoy such success stories, building on other countries' experiences as well as internal experiences?
Thank you very much. Perhaps I may not necessarily need to go across Africa, maybe right here at home. The work that FSD Zambia has done since 2013, we've scored significant successes relating to financial inclusion. And like my colleagues have already spoken to the different drivers of financial inclusion, for FSD Zambia, we realized that capabilities play a key role in ensuring financial inclusion. So in driving the capabilities, FSD Zambia has invested quite a lot in analytics, so research, M&E, and knowledge management. that forms the basis really for how the strategy would be implemented. And that's been a success for us. So the FinScope, for example, we have participated in both 2015 and the 2020. And that is based off also the interventions that we have undertaken ourselves in trying to understand, for example, why our target clients, who are really the low-income households, who are either underserved or not served at all, why is that so? So interrogating the constraints of financial inclusion. So issues of trust come in. So for example, when you talk about insurance, in the 2020 FinScope, you realize that insurance uptake was really low. And it's an important component of financial inclusion. So why is that so? So it's a two-edged sword, we like to call it. It's both from knowledge, capabilities of the consumers, but also awareness of the products that are on the market. And you realize that product design for, that response to cost, it has to be, has to be thought through. So the work that FSD Zambia does, for example, is to work with PIA and the other market actors and provide information to them in terms of, the profile of these clients. So it's fin-centric, really. And that takes a lot of research and that. So we've scored quite a lot. Especially in the insurance sector, it was very difficult for our target clients to appreciate insurance and as a risk mitigation measure. And in the recent past, we realized that it was lack of information and awareness. So we have partnered quite a lot with the key stakeholders in the market to provide the right information, package it in a way that this target group will respond to. And we have a couple of products on the market, but the big one was the FISEP. That scored over 1 million farmers. We had to engage the private sector to design a product that would respond to government's policy in terms of the FISEP program, but also to ensure that the farmers, when they're accessing these products, one, they understand what this product is and what the benefit of that product is, and is it cost effective, and is it also sustainable? Because the work that we do for financial inclusion, like you rightly said, is just not access, but it's also usage for sustainable futures. So that is the work that, for example, the FISEP, the weather index, that was a big one for Zambia, and I think that one is being also, a number of our colleagues in the different parts of the FSD network are trying to replicate and see how that model works. The other one, speaking to informal finance, like my colleague from the Market Association was saying, is, the lack of access for these target populations to do their businesses and all that. So also it's an issue of trust. There's an information gap between the demand side and the supply side. So the low income group is perceived as a high risk client. And like my colleague from SEC said, how do you de-risk them? So again, an intervention with FSD Zambia is to understand, what are the trust issues that prevent these target groups to engage in the financial markets. Insurance is perceived as expensive, it's not something that I need, but access to finance, they're scared to go into these formal facilities, the language barriers and, how the SME sort of products are so designed in a way that, it just drives them out of that clients that qualify for those services. So FSD Zambia then, again, does research to understand how do the FSPs look at this market? Are they able to see a business case with these target populations? So issues of, gender come in as well. Are there products that are designed that will respond to gender differences, or are there products on the market indifferent? How to respond to that? So one of the success projects we've had is a project up in Luapula province through the traditional leaders, the Luapula Chiefs Council, where we implemented financial inclusion through traditional leaders. So, Luapula province, is known as a poor province, and, it's not economically viable. And the traditional leaders did approach FSD Zambia to say, we've had financial inclusion, we want our our people to be empowered. So we did an RCT, this is a remand control trial. So again, research to understand the dynamics of why there's such low inclusion and why there's poverty. So some of the variables were that it was basically capabilities again. Do they understand finances? Do they understand how to budget and how to save and how to respond to these things? And what mechanisms would work? Because if the formal sector is not responding to them, then how do we still ensure that this target group is able to participate? So, FSD Zambia, sort of works a lot in informal sector and through savings groups and through the Bank of Zambia, we're happy that, they provided guidelines on how a savings group could operate, because in themselves they're seen such as a high risk sort of product, which again the former financial services do not really want to interact with. So we've done work again with the savings group work through the traditional leadership, and also bring out the results of that work and demonstrating that there is possibility of linkages to the form of financial services, because the clients now have capabilities, they understand, they know how to save. And like I think also Frida mentioned, there's a lot of money that goes in the sort of the informal sector, but I think it's the issue of building trust, understanding what the issues are, both from the supply and demand side, and bridging that gap, but also investing in innovation. So insurance now, so how do we design products that will respond to these target populations? And for FSD Zambia, our target population forms a big component of those that are that are not financially included. So out of Zambia, of course, the M-Pesa in Kenya, that was a huge success, digital financial services. So again, FSD Zambia, and you saw in the FinScope of 2020, that was really the driver for the success of, the numbers for financial inclusion. What we have realized that yes, there is this technology, but become efficient, and there's access to these services, but it has its own risks, issues of trust again when it comes to the fraud and everything that is happening there, reliability. Now I can imagine with the issues of electricity, how do we make sure that these SMEs and the smallholder farmers are still able to be productive? So investing in innovative, cost-effective solar products would really, and for this target clientele, I think the market has to collaborate to form embedded products, because if you have standalone products, they become expensive. So how do we integrate? So FSD Zambia facilitates that type of work, and for DFS, what we recognize also is capabilities. Again, I keep talking about capabilities because that's really sort of a driver to financial inclusion. So for DFS, we have come up with, we did a project which is a success again, with the central bank, Bank Yako Yako. So this is a drama program in the rural communities, and and dramatized specific to the different provinces and the issues that they are encountering there that affects our financial inclusion. And speaking to that, and very engaging, we get the market, the financial service providers to participate, to ask the questions, and to make sure that our clients understand the DFS component, then they can engage. So there are success stories, but like we say, we have to now think of sustainable futures. How does that look like with the NFIS too? Thank you.
No, thank you. No, I think this importance of knowledge research is for sure, that's important. But also you talked an important part of responsible finance, because consumer protection, the awareness raising. But also I want to ask financial service providers, representatives here, is that your service may be the very first product that someone is using. And if your product, the very first product for them is not working, that creates huge risk. That creates distrust in the even financial system. And the mistrust in the financial system, so lack of trust, creates issues in financial stability. So these themes cuts across to not only financial inclusion, but I think it's much bigger agenda on the economic growth of Zambia. As is the World Bank also, as a knowledge bank, we are pushing a lot of knowledge, facilitate knowledge, bring in from different regions. Again, also another theme that I heard is that the collaboration from between the private sector and then also the regulators as well, also the government, but also collaboration with among different stakeholders, and then that includes development partners. And then I think these governance structures help us to push this collaboration even more actively, and then we hope to see that. I wish I had more time for discussions, but I think we over time. So I like to ask you to join me thanking these panelists, and thanks for your contribution and sharing insights. And I hope we can continue this dialogue beyond this event, and then World Bank also continue to contribute to sharing knowledge and then work with every partner. And then we are very excited. But again, thank you very much for joining this panel. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause for the panelists. Thank you for your contributions, your expertise. And we'll continue to rely on you going forward. Thank you. We're now going to have a vote of thanks, and this vote of thanks will be given by the Bankers Association of Zambia. The CEO, Mr. Leonard Mwanza, is here. We'll invite him now to come and present the vote of thanks as we come to the close of the launch of Nfis 2.
Good afternoon to you all. I believe when you look at your program, the vote of thanks should have been given by our new chairperson, Madam Lowani Chivesakunda, but because of other engagements, she had to step out from the meeting. So I'll be standing here to say the vote of thanks on behalf of our chairperson. Allow me to ride on the already established protocols, and also just to say that it is such a great honor to stand before the Honorable Minister, I know he has left us, and other distinguished invited guests to give a vote of thanks during the launch of the second National Financial Inclusion Strategy, but as well as reviewing the milestones and achievements in the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy. I would like to thank the Minister of Finance, through the Minister of Finance, the regulators, through the Bank of Zambia Governor's Office, the World Bank Country Manager, the Registrar of the Pension and Insurance Authority, the CEO from the Security and Exchange Commission, for, I think, achieving a lot of things in the first strategy, but also for all the tireless efforts in terms of putting together the roadmap on financial inclusion in the next 5 years. As you know, the first strategy looked at 4 thematic areas, that is widespread and accessible delivery channels, diverse, innovative, customer-centric products, finance for SME and agricultural sector growth, and then financial consumer protection and capability. I think from the presentation that were made earlier, we have really achieved a lot, and we've brought financial services quite closer to the people. So we did see that it's actually possible when you work together and converge and ensure that you interoperate, you could deliver a lot of success. Today, actually, when you look at a bank e-wallet and a mobile money e-wallet, there is little difference. The meaning is the same. And they are now being used seamlessly, interchangeably, at a touch of a button on a 24-hour basis. I think this is one of our biggest achievements, where people can transact and do whatever they want to do anywhere, wherever they are, so long wherever they are, they have access to internet, or they have a gadget which can use USSD. That's not the only thing. If you look at how the market is today, the power to transact has shifted from physical in-branch services to self-service channels, whether it is mobile money, as I alluded to earlier, whether it's point of sales or online banking channels, or indeed through the various agents, it's now possible to transact anytime. You don't need to go to a branch to open an account now, because you can now do that on your own through self-onboarding channels, using mobile applications, with no geographical barriers, as long as you have access to the internet. So accessing a financial service is no longer about distance or the absence of a physical branch. I do know that the Honorable Minister was quite passionate about what is happening in Liua. I hope when we have all the connectivity in place in terms of infrastructure, the people of Liua can onboard themselves and access financial services without trekking for 3 days to go and find a branch where they are accessing those services. So it's no longer about distance, it's just about having the right infrastructure and you are able to onboard yourself. This is across all communities, whether you are in a rural or urban setting. In fact, this is where things are getting a bit more interesting, because the journey to include the excluded is becoming more affordable, it's becoming more accessible. We are already there. I think the figures are showing that the mobile payment platform, for instance, when this strategy was launched in 2017, I think this channel was a distant third, but now it's the top most used channel, and the gap is actually increasing year on year, meaning more people are actually using mobile channel for their payments. So that's not the only thing I think we are seeing in this advancement of the digital journey. We've also seen that it's now possible for financial service institutions, insurance companies, in the pension sector, to deploy some of the services using digital channels. One of the most interesting things, like in the banking sector, is that we now have faceless digital loans. Right now, even you, if you want to get money, you can go to your phone and you can borrow, even up to 10,000 kwacha in the morning and pay back the following day if you're a marketeer, depending on whatever business you are doing. Or indeed, if you are you're using your salary, you can actually get now and pay later. And these are transactions that are being facilitated by technology without a person being known, but using algorithms and data that you're able to get from these payment channels. So we've also noticed that the village savings groups have taken center stage, a good number actually growing quite big. And what are we seeing? We are now moving away from the savings of money in boxes. People are now using technology to save, put money together, and then they own lend to each other. And for some, they are even pulling resources together to embark on communal projects. So it's a paradigm shift because of what we've achieved in the first National Financial Inclusion Strategy. I know there's always a talk around lack of access of finance, especially for SMEs and in the agricultural sector, but we are making some progress. I think there's quite a lot of traction. One of the things to mention is that I know the MSME survey report did allude to the fact that a good number of people don't borrow from regulated financial institutions, but from families and friends. But there are always two sides to a story. We do know that quite a number of SMEs, yes, they tend to approach financial institutions, and at times they are rejected. They don't give them the required resources. A lot of reasons, among them high cost of lending, collateral, lack of bankable projects. But I think it's also important that we should celebrate those that are within that 3% bracket, who have approached lenders and they've been able to walk away with a smile and a positive story. I think those are some of the things that we need also to look at in terms of the few but positive stories, we need to amplify them so that those that are in that bracket where they're not accessing can also learn one or two things from them. Just last year, the government launched the Sustainable Agriculture Financing Facility. We had 5 financial institutions participating. We also had insurance companies participating in terms of covering for the crop. We devised that over 10,000 small and emerging farmers were able to access farm inputs through the risk-sharing management framework, which was provided by the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme and some insurance companies, as I alluded to. Sadly, it was a good start, but at a wrong time, given what happened in terms of the weather. The rain pattern wasn't favorable, but it was a very good try. We hope that can be scaled up in the course of this year. Allow me also to just appreciate some of the achievements in the pensions and insurance sector. I think the registrar alluded to the fact that we now have microinsurance, digital insurance, long-term insurance. You can even sign up for your sono pension scheme and all those things, including the weather indexed insurance, which is being offered by the 5 insurance companies that were earlier mentioned. In the capital markets as well, the CEO did allude to the fact that we have the capital market master plan. I think one of the positive outcomes to date is the listing of the green bond by the Copper Belt Energy Corporation worth 200 million. I think that's a very big start. So as we continue to celebrate some of these milestones, I think it's important that we also ensure that our customers are protected. The issues of trust earlier on talked about. I think frauds, cyber attacks are an everyday thing. I know financial service market players are doing their best to protect the systems, but we can only protect these systems if we work together. That's why I think awareness, consumer awareness programs are very important so that people know how to protect their accounts and those kind of things. So in terms of addressing some of the consumer complaints in the market, the financial services sector has adopted some of the consumer complaint handling procedures as well guided by regulators. But to quicken the complaint handling processes, what we are seeing is that artificial intelligence is now taking center stage so that you have that chat box and you can track and the lodgement of a complaint and then see through the resolution. So as I conclude, while we celebrate the milestones we've already achieved, I think the financial inclusion levels went up by 10%. So as we focus on scaling the next 15% to 85%, we feel that we've demonstrated that we can do it, and we can actually do it if we work together. But we felt perhaps we could also focus on a few enablers that can help us to ensure that we meet our set targets as we get into 2028. One of the first things will be to accelerate the INRIS project and ensure every Zambian has a biometric digital identity, because then that will speak to the next item, which is the full deployment of the centralized KYC. It was alluded to earlier. We also need to ensure that government e-services are deployed at 100%. We feel there's a lag in terms of moving most of the government services on the electronic platform. We also feel there's a lag in the retail space. We need to digitalize last mile transactions in the wholesale and retail space and in the marketeers space as well. We need to move towards creating a cash light economy. I do know there's a project currently running on the deployment of the national QR code at the national financial switch. So we need to ensure that also we accelerate that program, because through the national QR code, it will be easier for vendors, for retailers, for marketeers to accept money seamlessly by a tap of a button whenever you have a mobile phone. Then obviously we need to ensure that we accelerate the adoption of insurance products. I do know that not all insurance products are mandatory, but maybe that's some space that the registrar at PIA can start considering so that we increase the uptake of insurance products. We also need to ensure that we encourage the public to invest in equities for listed and greenfield IPOs and then they come through. So with that said, I think just to assure the Honorable Minister that the set objectives in the new strategy are very much achievable. The banks, the insurance companies, those in the capital market space, we are all united and we work together to make sure that the set objectives in the new strategy are aligned within internal strategies so that when we come back to review, we should be able to say that we actually did more than the set objectives of ensuring that we have 85% of the Zambian people who are financially included. Thank you so much. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard Mwanza, CEO of the Bankers Association of Zambia. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the launch of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy 2 here at Mulungushi International Conference Center. And we'd like to thank you, all of you, especially our dignitaries at the high table, the World Bank Country Manager, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, my eyesight is failing me now, and then Securities and Exchange, yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, the dignitaries at the high table, and indeed all the attendees, thank you for representing your institutions, and we look forward to continuing to work together with all of you as we ensure the success of NFIS. As you heard Mr. Mwanza say, working together works. So let's do this. Thank you, everyone. We have refreshments that are outside and would like for you to just pick something as you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do take care. We have on that pop-up, the first pop-up, the pale green pop-up, there is a QR code there that would like, for those of you that may want to get a copy of the NFIS document and other documents, if you go and scan that QR code, all the documents will be accessible to you. So just make your way over there, and I'm sure we are aware how to do the QR code thing with our phones, and you can get